Hello, y'all. My name is Gina Lee, and welcome to the Gina podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about shifting your perspective. What I mean by that is shifting your perspective from I have to do this to I get to do this. And the reason I wanted to make this episode today is because I've been super stressed out lately and I've just been struggling quite a bit like mentally, so my productivity has went down significantly and I've just not found a lot of joy in the things that I normally do that are part of my self-care routine, things like working out, making sure I'm eating right and eating properly, consistently, all that. And then also like self care. So, doing my skincare routine, taking care of my hair the way I want to be, and prioritizing my sleep. I feel like whenever we're really stressed out or struggling mentally, we tend to practice less gratitude and we don't pay as much attention to the things that we're grateful for. That was something that I was really trying to focus on this year was practicing a lot of gratitude and making sure to kind of journal out the things that I'm thankful for because I do think it makes a difference in kind of the way you view things and how you view the world. For me, whenever I am paying less attention to the things that I'm grateful for and practicing less gratitude, I notice that things that would normally energize me that I really enjoy doing, like working out, taking better care of myself, getting up early in the morning to prepare myself for the day ahead. Those things don't seem nearly as much fun, of course, but they also just seem more like a chore. For the past few weeks, I have been writing all the stuff I need to do down, and it's not been a lack of to-do list for me because that was something I struggled with in the past is I would not write to-do lists and I would just expect myself to remember everything I have to do, but I have ADHD along with a few other cute things on that psych chart. So, as far as my focus goes, that can be a little bit of an issue. I'm already getting off track here, but I've noticed that even with the to-do list that I have been writing out, I will write down I need to work out, I need to meal prep, I need to be reading and taking care of myself and doing things that are going to set me up for the future. I need to wake up early so that my day at work goes better because I wasn't stressed and jumped up out of bed and immediately had to go to work. I've noticed that writing all those things down still is not helping me. Still, when it comes down to doing it, I don't want to do it. Even with the to do list, though, I've been really struggling to get myself up and to do those things. And I think it's partially because I have been really stressed, so my energy is quite a bit lower than normal. But I also think it is the lack of gratitude and also the fact that I'm telling myself I have to do these things. So, these things being going to bed early and getting an adequate amount of sleep, working on my YouTube channel, filming podcast, just generally taking care of myself, eating healthily, all these things that I know make me feel really good and make me a more productive and a much happier person. But I've been struggling so much to do them. I've noticed in the past few weeks that telling myself, I have to do these things, I have to work out, I have to go to bed by this certain amount of time, I have to meal prep, there's a decent portion of resistance that I'm noticing like within myself. Whenever I'm telling myself that I have to go work out, I start to make excuses. I'm like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to meal prep. I don't have the energy for that. I'm super exhausted because I have been working a lot outside of my normal job and also trying to figure out this YouTube bullshit, but which I do love doing. It's just there's only so many hours in a day. I think part of the resistance comes from me telling myself I have to do something. And I'm a little bit of a rebellious person. I've always been that way. And along with making excuses, I think I just go into this kind of headspace where I start to take things for granted a little bit. That's where the gratitude portion comes in there. And I know deep down that I should be grateful for all these things like having a place to go to the gym, having enough money to where I can go get food for meal prep, having time to be able to put towards taking care of myself and towards skincare and other things like that. But I've been a lot less grateful recently, so I've really been taking those things for granted. I realized this morning actually that I needed to shift my perspective on things. I did not want to film a podcast episode today whatsoever. I almost just said, fuck it, I'm not going to do it today. I'm too tired, like mentally and somewhat physically, but more so mentally. And then I was sitting here thinking, I was like, okay, girl, it's like, why am I so resistant to doing these things right now? Why am I so resistant to doing things that I know benefit me and do make me feel good? Aside from being stressed, it's because I'm telling myself I have to do these things instead of I get to do these things. Whenever you switch your perspective from I have to I get to, you're automatically practicing some sense of gratitude there, of course, but I also feel like it lightens the weight a little bit and makes that task or activity that you need to do less of a burden. I know this mindset shift works too because I've actually done this in the past. I didn't start practicing the I get to mindset until probably last year, and that was when I was working out all the time, eating super well, and I was super productive at work. And I just was so enriched with all of the things going on in my life. And that I get to mindset really helped me with that. Last summer, even on the days when I would wake up with enough time to work out and I would say, oh my God, I have to go work out, I'd just be like, I don't really want to work out. But then whenever I switched my perspective on a little bit and kind of reframed the way I was saying that to, I get to go work out. This is something I get to do. I have an able body that I can move and take care of, and I should be grateful for that and put in the work and energy to do that. Or a similar thing with doing like skincare for me, because I've been bad at neglecting that in the past. But I'd say, oh, I have to do my skincare routine, and it would kind of take some of the joy out of it versus if I were to have said, or versus if I did say, I get to go do my skincare routine. It like excites me a lot more whenever I realize that these are little things that I get to do and I have these little opportunities to better myself and to be better. And by taking it from a chore to an opportunity, I feel like that just benefits me so much. And I think that if you've never tried this, switching your kind of perspective a little bit, that it would benefit you as well. So how do we shift our perspective? Because that is a very difficult thing, is to actually kind of solidify that shift. It's really easy to try something once or twice and be like, oh, that was cool. But to stay consistent with it is the more difficult part. To embrace that mindset shift, we do need to be practicing gratitude. So I'll give you some tips or examples here in just a second, but I want to explain this a little bit more. The act of saying I get to versus I have to already practices that gratitude, of course. But by doing that long term, you're going to be so much more grateful for the small things that you have and the small opportunities you have within your life. I know a lot of us don't want to go to work. Okay. And that's totally fair, especially on days where we are tired or where we are stressed. But switching it from I have to I get to does make it a little bit lighter. I know that seems absolutely silly because there is a lot of times where I have to go into work and I'm just like, girl, I do not want to do this shit today. There's not a bone in my body that wants to go to work. And of course, we do need to work in order to provide necessities for ourselves, like food, shelter, maybe having a car. All of those things do require money in order to get them. I'm not saying 100% that you get to go to work and that you don't have to, because of course, there is a part of you that should be doing that in order to get those necessities and to be able to be stable. For this example in particular, it's important to recognize that there are not people that are as lucky as maybe you and me are, that we live somewhere where we can go and get a job and hopefully provide ourselves with those necessities. There are places in the world where it's not as easy to do things like that. And I know the economical state of the world is not fantastic, but it's still important to be grateful for the things and opportunities that you have. Anything can really go for this though. So maybe you need to go see a family member and you get along with them relatively well, but you're just emotionally kind of exhausted, not wanting to do that. Changing it from I have to I get to works really well there too. When it comes to going out or seeing people, especially family members that you might be close with, but you're not exactly thrilled to go see them, that gratitude is super important because obviously we will never be here forever, but they will never be here forever too. So it's important to spend time with people and to be grateful for that time that you get to spend with them. One of the biggest things I have resistance to a lot of times is working out. Even though I really enjoy doing it, I will just go through time periods where I'm just like, I'm mentally exhausted, so I can't do that, which is kind of silly because honestly, if you are mentally exhausted, working out is a fantastic way to kind of help that because it tires you out in a way that is not mental and just kind of exhausts your physical. And also, exercise and stuff like that can help to reduce stress, improve sleep, all kinds of benefits there. Taking a moment to breathe and recognize that I am really lucky and very blessed that I do have an able body that I can exercise and move versus some people were not born as lucky as I am, or maybe as lucky as you are. Of course, there's a lot that goes into that, but I think it's really important to recognize how blessed we are and how blessed we are that we have the opportunity to take care of ourselves and that we can do that. Because, like I said, there's a lot of people who might not be as well off or as lucky as you are. And you don't necessarily have to have a gym to go work out. For the longest time, I didn't work out in the gym, and half the time I still don't. Half the time I just do workouts at my house. That's besides the point, though. That kind of mindset shift, though, I believe it really does benefit us significantly because we tend to really take things for granted in our lives, especially when we are really stressed. Maybe not everyone is like this, but I feel like sometimes when I take a step back and look at my life and all of the opportunity that I have, it makes me feel like I, God, how do I say this? That I've almost been somewhat like entitled to the things that I have or the life that I have now. And I'm a little bit disappointed in myself, to be honest, about it because I've been in situations where I'm not doing as well as I am now. And in those times, the only thing I wanted was to be back where I was before, where I could afford food, where I could move my body freely, where I had the time to practice skincare. Or on an even deeper note, when I've had people that have passed away that were family members that I should have spent more time with, I just sit and think for a minute that I should have been there more and I should have been more grateful for the time that I spent with those people and and that I that I really took that time for granted. So regardless, oh my god, I'm about to get emotional. Oh, oh Jesus. Oh god, I'm like a little bit torn up over here. Regardless of what it is though that you need to practice gratitude for, I feel like I totally went off track with that. But I just started to really have like a kind of realization as far as the lack of gratitude that I've been practicing and the fact that I need to pay more attention to the things that I'm grateful for because we do take them for granted. I hate to bring death back up in this podcast because I literally bring it up in almost all of my podcasts because I'm a morbid little creature. But it is important to be grateful for the things that we have and the opportunities that we have because we won't have them forever. And truthfully, saying I have to is kind of silly because you don't have to. If you are an adult, you don't really have to do anything. Of course, there may be consequences for those actions, but you don't have to really do anything. You are making a choice, of course, if there is consequences to avoid those consequences. But for things like that you want to do for yourself or take care of yourself or pursue opportunities, you don't have to do those things. You get to do them. And we should be excited about having these little opportunities and being able to take care of ourselves and to pursue a better future for ourselves. Especially if you are listening to this whenever you are young, I think it's really important to go ahead and practice this kind of perspective change or rephrasing how you speak to yourself and speak to yourself about your obligations or tasks that you need to do because you don't want to live your entire life without ever being grateful and noticing all of the wonderful things and wonderful opportunities that you have around you. Last year, I was going through some really, 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 really dark, difficult shit. So I was in such a low point and portion of my life that the only way I was able to kind of get out of bed in the morning was to practice gratitude and to see around me that there were things that should and that I needed to be grateful for. Had I not done that, I think I would have fallen deeper into that dark, depressive pit that I was in because I was going through a really kind of difficult time. And that act of practicing gratitude really did help me. Even when things are absolute shit, I guarantee you there is something, at least one thing that you can be grateful for. Now I'm going to give you a couple ways to really practice that gratitude. The first one being the thing we've talked about pretty much the entirety of this podcast is just switching kind of your language or the way you talk to yourself. So instead of saying, I have to work out, saying, I get to work out and I'm very blessed that I have an able body that can do that. That's just one example though. There's all kinds of things to be grateful for in your life. You just have to start paying attention to them. And the second one is to write down the things that you are grateful for and to kind of try and practice this every single day. I have a planner that I started using at the beginning of the year, and it actually has a spot for 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for, and that is every single day. I noticed that whenever I take the time to fill that out and I start my day off by paying attention to the things that I'm grateful for and all of the opportunities and the wonderful people in my life, that my day is so much brighter and I feel so much more connected to both myself, the people around me, and I'm so much more in tune with what is going on around me. If you decide to start writing down a couple or three things that you are grateful for every single day, they don't have to be big, crazy things. I guarantee you that if you start doing this for a few months, you're probably going to run out of those big things like, oh, I have shelter or I have access to water. You might run out of those big things that we normally think of whenever we practice gratitude pretty quickly. And if you run out of those larger things to be grateful for, it's not that there is nothing else to be grateful for in your life, but that we need to pay more attention to the small things and those small opportunities. Maybe just thinking back on the day you had previously, if you're struggling to find something to be grateful for, and thinking about something small that did have a positive impact on your life. Whether it was going outside and the sun being out after 5 days of rain, or maybe that you were able to deep clean your carpet thanks to a working vacuum cleaner. I know a lot of this stuff sounds silly, but it really does allow you to open up and kind of see all of the good around you. You could also practice gratitude with your friends. I know a lot of people do group chats where they will message each other first thing in the morning and say three things they're grateful for, or two or whatever, how many things they're grateful for. And they do that every single day. And that's kind of how they practice gratitude. Practicing anything with one of your friends or someone you're close with holds you a little bit more accountable. So if you want to try that, you can do that as well. But the main point being that we need to switch our perspectives or mindsets from I have to do this to I get to do this. Not only is practicing gratitude going to open up your eyes some to see all of the wonderful things around you, but it's also going to energize you some. At least in my own personal experience, that kind of energizing factor comes from I have the option to do this, but I want to do this. When I tell myself that I have to, I tend to look at it as a chore or as a burden, and that just kind of sucks the mental energy right out of me for that task or what I was wanting to do. If you're not practicing gratitude or paying attention to all of the wonderful things and opportunities you have around you, I do recommend starting. I promise you it will change your life for the better. If you're just starting out, I highly encourage doing the gratitude journaling, and then also just anytime you catch yourself saying, oh, I have to do this, change it to I get to. I promise if you take the time and energy to look around you, you will absolutely find at least one thing you can be grateful for. And one thing that I'm grateful for today is you. I love you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.